Welcome one and all to another Jail Joseph Live. Joining me here for another week in this four-part series on acceptance, imagining it's you, the Caribbean response to disability during COVID-19. Those of you who joined us last week, want to say thank you very much if you're rejoining this week. It's your very first time stopping by. Welcome. We hope that you have, or you enjoy the show at least, and that you gain a lot of knowledge, advice, and just learn a little bit about the parents who we're going to be featuring on here this evening. My name is Gail Joseph. I am your host for this evening. Those of you joining on social media, on both my platforms, that's on YouTube as well as Facebook. I want to say good evening to you. And those of you who are joining us via Digicel, PlayGO, that's on channel 3 across the Caribbean. Good evening to you. And if you're joining us in Dominica as well, I want to say good evening. The actual countries represented here this evening, Jamaica, Nevis, and Antigua. If you're joining us through any of these mediums, special good evening goes out to you. We started off last week and we got to speak with a few educators, especially around the theme of people living with disabilities. And this week we get to speak with the parents of people living with disabilities. This show is sponsored by UNICEF, Achievement Learning Center, the Government of Dominica, and Digicel. Last week, we discussed some of the issues that educators of people living with disabilities face generally, and more so since the pandemic, and how they were able to deal with the various obstacles that came in their way during this time. We also learned of some of the increased risk that men, women, boys, and girls with disabilities also face, and some of the obstacles to access prevention and response measures. And we learned that from our educators. I encourage you to check out last week's episode, which is available on Facebook, on YouTube, and also on the other various mediums that we're transmitting. So you can access last week's show. But this week, we're joined by the parents. Now, persons with disabilities face so many different barriers to accessing essential health services, wash facilities due to the environmental barriers, lack of accessibility to public transit systems, limited capacity for health workers to communicate and work with them, and the high costs of healthcare. There's boys and girls with disabilities who actually be at risk of exclusion from education if they have to travel probably from remote areas, to access schools, learning programs, a lack of accessibility in terms of devices to allowing participation, and as well as accommodation of learning for their own benefits. Today, I'm going to be sitting with three parents, and we're going to be discussing children with disabilities, specifically young children who all have disabilities, different disabilities. And we're going to talk about how they've been coping from birth and how they've been dealing with things since the entire world has changed and we're now facing the new normal, so to speak. We're going to be joined by Maureen, who is a mother of two, Brian, 28, who has a significant cognitive impairments, and Anna K, her daughter, who is a ceramist and diver. Brian's sister and is also a co-parent. Brian has no career or profession, but has made significant impact on the lives of many. He has caused moments of pain, according to Maureen, some of which she cannot ignore, but many moments of joy and a lot of teaching areas, that she's grown to learn a lot about it. Maureen is a social development and inclusion practitioner, and she's going to be joining us here this evening. Also going to be joined by Kimberly Hanley, and who is married. So Kimberly Hanley is married, two boys, uh, ages 5 and 6. Both were diagnosed with autism, and she worked for the Nevis Island administration in the post of legal counsel. She sits on the board of directors at the Nevis Solid Waste Management Authority and is a member of the Nevis CBR Advocates. She has a bachelor's of law, and she also has a certificate in, education from Hugh Wooding Law School. That's from 2010. And she also works with, that's the TEP designation from STEP, Advising Families Across Generations. And that is as of March of 2020. And we're also going to be joined by Melinda Swain, who is a mother of two, Charles, who is 10 years old with a speech impairment, and Chelsea, who is currently enrolled in college. Charles is high functioning, as she explains, and has much difficulties. So this time, I'd like you to welcome my three beautiful guests from various islands right here for the very first time on Jail Gilbert. Good evening to you guys.
Good evening.
Good evening. Can you hear me? Somebody's computer is turned on loud, so I want to ask you to turn up the volume a little bit. We just want to ask you guys to turn it down a little bit so we can get this show on the road. I think we're doing good right now. Everybody hearing me good? Everybody hearing me?
Yeah.
There's still some feedback from somebody's computer. Somebody needs to turn on the volume and see whose computer. I think it's Melinda's computer. Melinda's computer is causing a little bit of feedback. So please turn down the volume so we can. I want to say good evening to the folks coming on social media. You guys have an awesome day. Okay, Melinda, you ready for us?
Yes, I'm here.
Is loud. It's super, super loud. So we need to turn that down so we don't get the feedback. Please turn that down for us. While we're waiting, we just want you guys to reintroduce yourselves, because sometimes I stumble, I struggle with even introducing guests. It happens, especially when I'm not too familiar with you guys. And I just want to say thank you, first of all, for taking the time out of your schedule to come on and speak with us. It can be a bit of a difficult topic that we're going to be discussing this evening, and we kind of indulge in your life a little bit, And I just want to give you guys an opportunity to introduce yourselves, who you are, and where you're from, and just probably tell us a little bit about your day today. I'll start with Kimberly. So, Kimberly, just tell us a little bit about you.
Okay, my name is Kimberly Hanley Bello. I'm from the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis in the island of Nevis. I work for Nevis Administration as a legal counsel, and I have two young boys, 5, 6. The 6-year-old name is Kimani, and the 5-year-old is Nikolai. They both have autism.
How was your day?
How was my day? My day was okay.
And Maureen?
Well, you already said who I am in terms of my two children. How was my day? It was incredibly awesome. I facilitated a workshop today to discuss social protection reform here in St. Vincent, where I'm currently based. And like almost all of my workshops, I get an opportunity to share some of the things I have learned here in Bryan, because it really makes you a whole other person. So it was really, really an awesome day for me.
Fantastic. I'm glad to hear that you had an awesome. And Melinda joins us.
I'm here. Hello. I'm
Feedback again. We're getting that feedback. I'm getting that extra feedback. I don't know if is somebody listening to it as well. Probably somebody's connected.
Chelsea, are you listening to me?
Yes, yes. Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
Okay, it's better now.
You gotta turn it down. Turn it down a little bit. Turn it down a little bit. Okay. You hear me now? You hearing it?
Yes,
You
I'm hearing you.
hearing
Hi.
or something? It might be an additional speaker that you have on somewhere. I'm not sure why we're getting this feedback right now. All right. Can you say something so that I could see if we're still having that?
Okay, hi, hello. It's the same thing. The same thing. Chelsea.
All right. We're gonna proceed with the two. One second. Say that again.
Did you mute my mic?
I have to mute your mic because of the feedback, but we can hear you. It's just repeating.
Are
Okay.
you hearing me better? No, no,
I'm hearing
no.
you. There's still a bit of an echo, but we can live with that. We can live
Okay,
with that for
carry to
now. Right? It's
27.
not it's not disruptive.
I cannot hear. Carry to 27.
Okay. So Melinda, are you able to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, sorry about that. And thanks for your patience. I'm Melinda Boatswain, married, mother of two. I work in healthcare and I have a 10-year-old with a speech impairment and he's on the autism spectrum.
Um, Thank you very much for joining us, ladies,
Sure.
on here. I really truly appreciate. I'm gonna start with Kimberly to the top because Kimberly, you have two boys, two very young boys. When did you know that you had a child with a disability? When did it all begin? Take us from the start.
With Kimani, the older one, I always knew that something was different about him. Um, it's gonna sound a little silly, but when he was born, um, saw him for the first time, he was actually humming, like he was singing a nursery rhyme. And when I brought him home from the hospital, he will be humming nursery rhymes like ABC and Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. So I was thinking that I have a music genius. I'm like, ah.
Wow.
And then as he got older, everything was kind of normal. But then when he turned two, um, certain development started slowing down, like in terms of talking, communicating. Um, it's like he just stopped communicating. And at one point, we wondered if he could talk. And one day, when he was three, we see him just talking clearly and everything to the television set. We're like, well, this child could talk.
Mm.
He likes company. He liked company, but he was more of a loner. Um, we did a lot of research, because sometimes he behave more like a robot than a little boy. Everything was just automatic, not too responsive. So my husband and I did a lot of reading, search on the internet to find out what was going on, and then we came across autism.
Now, when did you find out that it was actually that he actually was an autistic
When he
child?
was four, when he
And
was
you had another one already.
mhm.
So what was going on with your other child?
Well, with the other child, it wasn't anything too much. It's just that because of the experience with Kumani, um, we took him to confirm it, and With the younger one, you wouldn't really know. It's just with experience.
Mhm. So you just automatically started seeing the same signs like
Yeah,
you did
like
with
similar
Kiani.
size, like in terms of eating. With the older one, when he turned two, he stopped eating. Before he used to eat everything. Then all he wanted was to drink porridge, eat porridge, or biscuits and juice. It's only about a year ago now, he turned five. He started eating food again. But all the time, it was only porridge. With the younger one now at two, he also stopped eating. But it was a little different. He would eat certain food, like of a certain color, yellow. So for a whole month, he started just eating macaroni and cheese. And then the next month, he only eating fries. And in the other month, he just eating chow mein noodles. Now he eats a bit of certain food of a certain color.
Wow. Wow. Thank you very much for sharing that with us. Maureen, tell us a little bit about your child and when you found out that you had a child with disability.
Okay. So Brian, it's kind of hard to think of this child because he's now 28. Good Lord. But Brian, for the first, it was my first child, and for the first 9 months, he was things seemed to be a little bit behind. And then one day, and I would do all the reading to the children, the child, and everything. He was kind of non-responsive, and I would make the big beer noises, and he didn't really. But I didn't have an experience with a child before, so therefore I didn't say something was wrong or right. When he almost a year, we were driving somewhere, and there was this awesome loud blast from a truck, and I jumped out of my seat almost when I was braking because I was just so shocked. I looked over at the car seat, and Brian had not flinched. I just said right away he was not hearing. That was it. I knew that he could not have been hearing and have been stunned by that. By the time we started getting him, I was still married at the time. By the time we started getting him tested, um, they gave all kind of labels. So first it was cerebral palsy, labels after labels after labels. We had him, he had surgery, so we knew he could now hear because he started looking in our faces. But as it sort of evolved, I mean, perhaps it was good that it was gradual because as you saw the impairments appear, you are adjusting little by little by little by little. It's kind of so that's and I when I say to people that Brian is incontinent, he's not toilet trained, but I am because I know when I need to take him, so I'm toilet trained for him. But in effect, really, it was a gradual process. So I think it allowed me to ease into the realities of having a child and now a young adult with severe, I mean severe, he's nonverbal, doesn't respond to the spoken word, doesn't respond, for example, to his name, but he responds, I think, to the melody of your voice. He knows when he's crossed the line because he somehow how you tone your voice is. But he has a seventh sense that is really important for him. He knows who to trust and who not to trust. If you come to the house and you don't like him, if you're uncomfortable with him, he takes your hand and puts you outside the door. That's it. You're finished with. It's over for you. You've lost your chance to be my universe kind of thing with him.
Mhm.
So it was a gradual process, and people will say he'll grow out of things, but I knew and I grew with him in that process. You made one point that you said people living with disabilities. Now, a person has a disability. They don't live with disability. No, I live with disability because I live with my son. But you really say a person with a disability. It's not a disease that you're living with. It's a part of your reality, really. Um, but
True.
I've grown into it.
Quite enough on that.
Bless you.
Melinda,
Um,
tell us a little bit about
Melinda.
um, your experience.
well, when I came home from the hospital with him, everything was fine. He was a normal baby, no complications during birth, um, a natural birth, and no complications again. When he
One second, Melinda, that feedback, whew, it's loud. It's super, super loud. It's like a speaker that's on.
and talk, so I listen to you and turn it up back. So
Oh,
this can work. Are you hearing me?
yes.
Okay. Yes, when he came home, yes, we have to figure out something. And he was functioning well. When he was about 2 years old, he was fascinated. Okay, let's say 1 and about 7 months. And he was fascinated with wheels. And I realized that he wasn't speaking. So I say about a child this year, almost 2 years old, is supposed to be saying things. So his father told me a morning, why don't you take him to the pediatrician and inquire about autism? Just like that. So I was in denial because his sister's normal, right? I don't have, she's functioning well. She's excellent. She's in her second year at college. So I went, I take him to the pediatrician. She was the best on the island, is the best. I don't know if you ever heard of Arlene Sarando, Dr. Sarando. And I take him there. And she told me, she checked him, everything. She told me to find out about Asperger's. Asperger's. So I said, okay. And I research it and I see some of the symptoms. We, as the parents, some of us is hard to accept and some of us is hard to cope, right? I was in that stage and I guess it would never ever be over. It's a working process. And after that, took him to do several aero scans and different type of tests so that I can get down to the root of everything. If sometimes it's hearing something, you understand me? I check everything, and I'm here at this point with the similar situation facing me. So, as a parent, the mother, I can speak for me that it's a journey.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for sharing that with us, lovely ladies. Um, Kimberly, you spoke a little bit about, when you started figuring things out. In your island, what what some of the facilities or what were some of the organizations that were there, or even just figuring out what is going on with the child in the exception of research and online. What sort of facilities were you exposed to, or were you able to go to get to know what was going on with your son?
Well, I took Kimani to mental health in Nevis, and they refer me to a facility in St. Kitts called Spectrum Center.
Mhm.
So that's where we had him observe and confirm that he was autistic. The Spectrum Center in St. Kitts they do classes with children, but for us, since we over in Nevis, it's kind of difficult to say every weekend take them over because with Kimani, he has motion sickness easily.
Mm.
Um, we have a lady here who does speech therapy, and currently the government is encouraging others to learn speech therapy. Um, we do get students who come here to practice certain things such as behavioral therapy. So Kimani was exposed to that for a few months.
Okay.
But
Okay.
apart from that, there's not too many facilities available.
How about you, Maureen?
Well, 'cause Brian kind of unique, because his challenges are so significant. First of all, he's labeled as non-pervasive, non-diagnosed development disorder. That's his label, which means they don't have a clue, and I can't waste any more money on them. So the service levels that he needs will obviously be a lot more intense than the typical, if there's a word, child with a disability. I was fortunate, along with other women, led by a woman named Pauline Beaumont, to be a part of establishing Genesis Academy. And that was his home in terms of a learning space. Brian is considered to be, was labeled as sort of like unteachable by most people, really, for the most part. And it became more for him maybe a caregiver space because of Brian's levels of disabilities. You're paying obviously for the school, which is like not a government program, a
Mhm.
fortune. And then in his case, he required an aide to go with him because he's not entirely trained, right? So I would say honestly that the services are very limited for persons with disabilities in general in Jamaica. They may be perceived to be better than other places in the Caribbean, I don't know, but they are very limited. I know the people who are delivering the services think they're doing an awesome job, but they are not. We are treated as a part of it, as like most other countries in the Caribbean, we are tagged on to social services or the welfare department. We're not
Mhm.
welfare cases. We are people with disabilities.
Precisely.
And that there is the beginning of the problem. So for education, they will say, go and talk to people in welfare. I don't want welfare, I want my child to be educated. For healthcare, go to welfare, so to speak. So therefore, we're not integrated or included across the spectrum. We're actually just in a little hole by ourselves and given social benefits and handouts, which is not what we really want.
So
So the services are
it's
limited.
not like an intersection because you have you don't need the money or the funding like in the case of social welfare. What you need is education, or what you need are facilities that can or people that can at least understand what you're going through. You mentioned something to the effect uh, you it's kind of undiagnosed what he has. Um, how do you deal with did they diagnose with something that probably happened at birth, or it was just something
Well, okay, for Brian, really, he was born maybe 6 weeks early. My theory is, and if you're in the US, it'll be different, that he was severely jaundiced and how it was managed was done improperly. And I think that that could have been where it happened. But again, I don't know. And honestly, after the first couple of years, I thought, what is more important? What's more important is am I spending funding to try and have somebody tell me something, or for me to begin to figure what are the next steps in giving him a quality life, so to speak. And I mean, it's not among his challenges. For example, he has sensory issues, so you can't. He doesn't brush his teeth because he can't. He has no fine motor skills to do it. But you can't brush his teeth either. And I use it. I say we have a simple little strategy at home: two to hold and two to brush. Two people to hold him down. Two people have to be toothbrushes and try to get in his mouth and try and get the best you can. All right. And after that, no, you still have to spend a fortune on dental surgery once a year, but it has to be fully sedated for a proper clean, any extractions or fillings. That's the space that we live in. That's the world that we live in. It is really and truly totally different. I think I'm a passionate advocate because we are at the bottom of the food chain of disability as we see ourselves, and therefore, if help doesn't get to the top, it will never get to us. So I am perhaps sometimes a difficult advocate because I realize that there's so much that we need that if we get a little bit, it means others are getting a lot.
wow. You've said a lot. You've said a lot, and that is probably the life of a lot of people who are in the same or similar position
You
as
see,
you.
you know what is really, I'm sorry to interrupt, that is the important thing is that why I focus on issue advocacy, I have been able to make a choice to give up something else to care for Brian. Women at a particular income, at particular quintiles in the economy, they don't even have that something to give up. So in other words, Brian requires diapers, disposable diapers. We're talking about 4 or 5 a day, okay? All right, but he's not entirely trained. He may go sometimes, sometimes he will not go, all right? And even when he goes, it's not a perfect go, so to speak. Now imagine a woman who is a housekeeper or working in a hotel having the same expense and no support to ensure that that particular family is able to meet that particular need. And that is really what is wrong. In other words, having a disability is not the issue, is that the system doesn't provide opportunities for us to live normal lives.
I see Melinda shaking her head. Um, is that the same with you? Like you seem to be agreeing with what Maureen is saying. And you're in Antigua. Can you share some of your experiences with us?
Sure. Um, Now, everything that Maureen said, I agree with because I guess 95% of us goes through the same or similar situation. Okay? And we don't get as much support, even though I advocate a lot, even for the school, right? And I work with the government, I advocate, I try, I do. I mean, I have to basically put my hands in my pocket and pay for speech and language therapy, right? And you know that comes at a price.
Mhm.
So that's the situation. It's tough. Everything you have to do for yourself.
What
There's nobody that assists us, and
what
the
sort of
children,
facilities do
there's
you?
nothing set up. There's the government don't budget for that. They don't include special needs persons in anything that is beneficial, and they all make up society, and they all have some sort of contribution because they're here for a purpose, right?
That,
And I've tried.
that
I've went to several organizations to the government. I have talked to several persons in power. I've been up and about, and it's like you're being in a circle, going around and going around with no form of support. So at one point, I didn't give up, but it feel as though I was begging and losing a battle at the same time. So I was feeling down because I'm not getting anywhere, right? So I just decided to put my hands in my pocket. But what about the other persons, as Maureen mentioned, that cannot do that? It is difficult for some parents. They cannot cope with the children, and there's no facilities that they could go and play sports, some type of sensory something, some speech and language therapy, music therapy. There's nothing. The government don't budget. I spoke to the Minister of Education, and the same situation I'm in.
how does that make
So,
you guys feel? Like how do you feel when you know that or when you're pretty much being told that by the sounds of what you're saying that it's not important or it's not held to high regard or it's not something that they pay attention to. How does that make you feel?
well, as I said, Jail, it's it's difficult, but it's my child. But I'm thinking about the persons I'm also considering because I'm in the situation. So I'm also considering persons who really can't help themselves. Parents who don't have a job. Look at the economy now with the COVID-19. A lot of people work at hotel. The hotel's not tourism industry not functioning due to the
Restrictions.
travel situation. Among other organizations, other workplaces of work, a lot of people is unemployed at this point, and I stand up and I advocate for everybody, not just myself, because I see other parents have a similar situations with children with disabilities, and sometimes they abandon them,
Yes.
and then they left to just people to advantage them. They left out there because the parents don't know how to deal with it. It's frustrating. They're not getting no support, no kind of help, no even financial help, nothing for the children.
Melinda, thanks for sharing that with us. But Kimberly, I wanna go to you a little bit because you're a little quiet, but you have two children with autism. I want to know what is life like for you on a daily basis. You there? Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Well, on a daily basis, it's very tiring, exhausting, because the older child, Kimani, he's also hyperactive, very hyper. And so the first school he would have gone to within 2 weeks, I was told that
Okay, then.
he's just too active and he don't want an accident to happen at the school. The second school was more understanding, and they kept him. Things got a bit easier when he turned 5 and he was approved for special education. He went to he's now in a special school, and which is a more comfortable environment for him. The principal of the school, she herself knows what it's like because her two children are autism also. And so, based on her experience, she knows how to navigate the school and the classrooms, so to speak. She promised me that because at the time, even though it's a special school, it was nothing for Kimani's condition. He'll be the only autism child there. But she guaranteed me that if I bring my son, she will try and put things in place for him. And so, fast forward now, currently, they have put in place autism class where they have 3 other children in the classroom with him. And they set it up in a way that, because in the law of visual,
Yes.
you can't just give him instructions like that. You have to make it more visual for him. So they have the necessary posters, schedule in terms of when it's break time, lunchtime, when to do schoolwork, maths, English, time for PE, bathroom break, and they actually have the little pictures up, which is good for him.
Okay.
The young one, Nikolai, was a bit easier because even though he speaks at a more slower pace, he just turned 5, and he speaks more like a 2 year going on a 3 year, speaking phrases and 2 words, but he can actually communicate to you. He can tell you what he wants, he can tell you what he's feeling, what's hurting him. Whereas if Kimani, you have to be observing him, and he may so happen to say it because he can talk, just that he doesn't know how to communicate with you too well.
Wow. What is your support system like around you?
Well, at Kimani school, the teachers volunteer to they offer babysitting services to give you a break.
Wow.
So his home,
Really good support system.
yes, like once a month, she will offer to babysit, and also my place of worship as well. The sisters in the congregation, they also offer to babysit your child and give you that break because they recognize that you need a break. I have a mother who also sits with them.
What is the interaction like with them? Because I know sometimes, children that have autism, they tend to, if they don't know you, they don't really want to. What is the reaction or the interaction with your children and the people who offer to assist?
Well, Kimani mostly wants to just go off and do his own thing and be on his own. But once he gets to know you and he like you, he actually now have friends in his classroom who he plays with and interacts with, and he talks to them. Nikolai have to get to know you. If he doesn't know you, he'll push you away. He'll just push you through the door. But once he gets to know you, well, then he'll hug you and come and more around you.
How
Uh,
you?
are they potty trained? Are they both potty trained? Are they able to tell you when they need to go and or not?
Nikolai can, he tells you when he wants to go, but he doesn't like the toilet. He has to get accustomed to the toilet. So when he go to school, he has to get accustomed to the toilet first, be familiar with it. Otherwise, he just holds it.
Um,
Kimani,
uh,
Kimani has to be placed on a schedule. And when it's like say 10 o'clock, it's time to go to the bathroom, then 10 o'clock he goes. So Kimani is a schedule. Nikolai has to get familiar with it.
That must be so difficult for you as a parent.
Yes, because when school reopens, Nikolai have to get readjusted all over again.
And
Until
we're getting into that. We're getting into that in just a little bit. Maureen, one of the things that you said that struck me is that your son, although he's of an adult age, he does not really communicate with people, and but all you recognize is by your melody, the melody in your voice. How does he interact with with people like strangers? Like what happens with strangers?
Brian doesn't really. I mean, it is, and I listened to Kimberly, and I remember when Brian was much younger. He he. Let me see how interaction. If honestly, if you are not comfortable in his space, he won't be in your space. That's the first thing. He's a curiosity person, though. He likes people, so he will go for a walk with one of the guys who helps me with him, and he will want to go up to the person's face and check them out and determine if he likes them or not. So he's like that. Um, it's just myself and his sister who are actually his care providers. His sister. I am actually in St. Vincent, as you know, working on an assignment. And Anaki is in Jamaica. She's 24 and she takes care of him. And the reason I'm actually in Jamaica, you mentioned about support and thing. When I got the opportunity to work here in St. Vincent, it was, a question mark about it. Was it enough? Was it the right time? And my daughter, Anaki said to me, Mommy, this is your time out for good behavior and good parenting. This 2 years means that I will be responsible for Brian. You don't have to get up in the morning at 3 o'clock when you make a mess of the house. You don't have to do anything at all. You just deal with yourself, you work, or send home the money, by the way. But seriously, for me, this has really been a time out because I have parented, cared for, and nurtured Brian for his entire existence as his care provider and mother, right? And by the way, there are two different roles
There,
because they're two different roles. And I mean, and Anaki is learning it as his sister and his care provider. There, you have to have two different roles, really and truly. And as you get older and you get older with your child, you begin to appreciate the difference between the two. Brian, if you are close to him and you've always been close to him, he connects with you. If he knows that you respect him and he feels those things, he has a different thing, a different internal radar. He feels the connection and it's there, no matter what you've seen him for 2 years or whatever. He's very close to my sister, but she lives in Australia. But he connects in that kind of way if there is a feeling. In fact, sometimes I will say to him, I wish I had that extra radar that tells me that people who don't really want to be with me, so I don't waste my time with them sometimes. But
I know.
it is not. It's not a. If you don't grow to the space of seeing the joy, because I hear people use the word coping. How you cope? I'm not coping. I'm enjoying. Really, it is. Because if I use the word coping, it sounds like I'm in a struggle. I am enjoying because I'm learning so much from this person. I am I know I am giving to this person a quality life that being born of another parent might or might not have been a struggle. I I have learned to listen, if Brian is upset with you, he goes to the TV and pull on the TV. Just like that. I mean, the TV has been put on at least 3 times in the last 3 or 4 months. And he walk away and we figure he has made some kind of point. That's our reality. And we say, well, if it's broken and it's halfway listening, that's all you get. But I said pain. I have a broken cheekbone right here because one day he upset. He used to have a headbutting period, because headbutting was his thing at one time. And Brian just threw his head back on my face in anger, crashed that thing right in, right?
Wow.
That's just a part of it. Now, what happens though is that the issue of parenting, then let's go back to parenting and support, right? There is so some of us who have the friends, the family, the people who will come and give them a drive out, or your church sisters and your brothers. But there is what you need. You need respite. You need time off to be effective at the parenting and the support. There is not even respite here. There is nothing at all, and that I worry about because issue of depression and mental challenges to the care provider and parent has to be something that we do not ignore. We're talking about the person with disability or the person living with it, how he or she is coping. Right? As I said, that's why I see that I have moved into a journey of joy because if I was in a place of coping, I think I'd have had a breakdown by now because you're literally working non-stop to provide support for somebody who will never work, who's in a country where he won't get a social security check. So understanding that when I'm dead and gone, there is nothing for him to get. at all unless I frantically save. It's harder to save because it costs more. Just like what Melinda is saying, what's the idea of saving in? What's the word saving again? Diapers, the doctor bills, everything else, the attempts at the same. So it really is making it a joy journey as opposed to making it a coping journey. That's really, really critical. I was saying to parents right now who are listening, find the joy in the process and let go of coping concepts.
You say that, but yet still I cannot help but feel like a heavy burden, like when you speak about it. I mean, as much as you say it with such enthusiasm, because you're looking for, you're really on a journey um, to the joy of what makes this entire experience what it is. But we cannot help but feel empathy and for you, for all of you, because it sounds like so much work. And I mean, I grew up seeing people that probably had Down syndrome or different disabilities, and I mean, I remember as a child laughing at them. I remember, and I'm not going to not, I'm ashamed that I did, but I remember laughing or making fun of children who were different or who considered different, or even mocking them and imitating them, and all of these different things. But it sounds like so much of a difficult job, raising. I mean, Kimberly, you have two, um, and you guys all seem like you're trying to deal with this, but it sounds so difficult. Like, Melinda made a point, that some parents cannot deal with it, and they 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 give up on their children because they cannot deal with it. I want to get into the conversation of COVID and the impact it had on your lives. But before I do that, I just want to remind those of you who are viewing to share the live. Make sure you share. I feel like this is a very important discussion that people across the Caribbean need to be in on, and they need to be in somewhat accordance with you guys, because a lot of parents are having very similar experiences. And I love the caliber of women we have on here today, because not only are you guys seem very super strong, like power women, wonder women, you guys are dealing with all different circumstances as it relates to having a child with a disability. So all your experiences are different. And I want to encourage people to share this live, because you can learn something new. You can and if you can even help, these women are all from different islands, and they seem to have having the same issue. One of which, a big part of it is being with their kids are kind of forgotten, or not a lot of emphasis is placed on them in terms of the assistance that they need to have their children live a normal life, as normal as possible. I want to ask you guys to please share the live with someone, tag someone, share it in your inbox. It's sponsored by UNICEF, the Achievement Learning Center, the government of Dominica, as well as Digicel. And I just want to really thank the sponsors for making this available, especially Beverly, who is spearheading this initiative, who has been doing a lot, in order to get the word out there and let people know that you guys have a voice. You can speak up. I want to talk a little bit about COVID. So COVID-19 happened, or it's still happening. We're still going through it. It's a different phase, a different stage. When COVID-19 started, what went through your minds when you knew now that your normal was going to be another new normal? Because I can't even say the new normal from the normal, because your normal is not normal for everyone. Melinda, I want to start with you.
First things first, I think
Remember your
public,
volume.
hearing me now?
Go ahead.
Public needs to be educated on persons that is differently able. I don't like to say with disabilities, because at this time it's a new millennium and everybody has an ability to do something. Matters not what little they contributed to society or to the universe, right? And the public needs to be educated, especially when dealing with COVID-19 and persons that is differently able. Because some persons cannot hear, some persons cannot speak, some persons cannot comprehend. They have different disabilities. So the government and any other organization, WHO, I mean, they're not considering persons with special needs because it is difficult to keep the mask or the face shield on for a special need person. What if the child has asthma and cannot talk? That's a disaster, right? So, I mean, I don't see anything put in place for persons, especially in the Caribbean, because we have the heart of it right now. So, I don't see anything put in place for persons with special needs. Nothing at all. So, it's like the persons don't exist with special needs or differently able persons, right? There's nothing in place for them. And I feel down. I don't feel good about that, to be honest. And this it is just too much for me because it could become a disaster. Because if your little child goes to school and they come back home with COVID-19, the whole house is infected. It's very dangerous. And I don't think that the government put in enough. I don't want to run down the government, but I just don't think that they put anything in place for that. Seeing as though school is opening, because up to today I was at a meeting, school meeting, and I don't think that they put anything in place. I'm not saying that the teachers don't work with them. Yes, the teachers work with them. They get along well with the teachers. But remember, it's not everybody would be helpful to a child with special needs. Some persons don't understand. So the government really need to educate persons on dealing with special needs. Children, adults, anybody that is differently able. They need to shed more light on that.
Thank you very much, Melinda. Kimberly, share with us what happened during COVID, or what? How are you dealing with this pandemic, having two children with special needs?
Well, if I'm Nikolai, the biggest concern is having what he wants to eat. And so I decided at that time, pandemic, was really concerned if I'm, getting to the supermarket, getting what he want to eat, because if it's not there, he literally would just rather starve. And
Wow. So he will not eat if you cannot give him what he wants.
no, this child reads well. Since he's two, he's reading, and so it's difficult to trick him. For example, they're studying, they're studying box juice he would drink. His father cut out the label, replaced it with the label of the juice that he would drink. He look at it, he read it, he identify it, he read the label, he see that's the juice that he would drink. But he's still looking at the color scheme. He look at the whole package. I know that's not the juice. He doesn't even taste it.
Okay.
Wow.
When you bring home the grocery, he goes through the grocery bags, he reads all the labels, he looks through all the food items, the cereals, he reads it. As you're cooking, he's watching you, he's watching what you give to him to eat. So he
Oh
knows
my
what
God.
you give him to eat.
You may just have a little genius on your hand.
Um, Kimani, the challenges is that this is a child who's hyper, he needs space, so it's kind of hard to keep him indoors. After 3 weeks or 4 weeks of being indoors, he started getting really, really cranky. Um, he doesn't like sound in terms of, he loves music, but if it's the wrong note, it upsets him.
Mhm.
It just upsets him, and so
What does he do? What is his reaction when he's upset? What
starts
happens?
to cry, starts to cry. um, throwing a little tantrum, and then he upsets the other one, the other one starts to cry. But the other one, Nikolai, he now learns that when Kimani is upset, he starts to sing for Kimani. So Nikolai loves to watch his TV show. Kimani now, if Kimani doesn't want a TV show on, Kimani gets upset. Kimani would, in order to turn off the TV on Kimani would use knock down the TV
Oh,
set shut.
you can relate.
So we have to put the TV way high up. Kimani will go to something to hit the TV. He'll look for a broom or something. But so yes, it wasn't easy with him. It's not easy with Kimani. Um,
Now they were home with you during the pandemic, right? They were home with you
yes.
this entire time. What was it like working and having?
Um, right now, I go to work physically in the mornings, and in the afternoon, I come back to them, and in the evening, I continue working from home. Because well, my husband, he's self-employed, so he was more flexible.
Okay,
So he will stay with them in the morning, and I work in the morning. Then I come back in the afternoon. He goes out in the afternoon. If one of us have to work the entire day, then I'll get my mom to keep them. But that's not easy because she's not too young, and Kimani is quite a handful, and she has two other grandkids living with her.
wow, wow.
Yes, yes. So with Kimani, I had to get um, a medicine that was recommended for him to calm him down.
So
And
it's almost like now you have to drug your kid so he calms down.
well, the medicine when we first tried it, um, it didn't. It was kind of upsetting him because he took it after school, and then we told that I was recommend that do it in the morning instead.
Okay.
And we tried in the morning, and because of the pandemic, it became non-available. So we started him on the medicine. Then it wasn't available, and then his mind went into a state of confusion.
Oh no.
which is
Yes.
what which
Yeah.
is why I have absolutely refused that option. Brian doesn't sleep more than 3 or 4 hours any one night, and we took the decision, myself and Anaki, no drugs, because I just do not know what's happening in his brain already as it is. I'm not going to complicate it any further. Sorry to
Yeah.
interrupt you, Kim. I'm sorry.
No,
One
no,
of
no,
the things, okay,
that's okay. That's okay because you guys can share. I think that it's important for you to share. You know,
it gets one of the things about COVID-19 though, first of all, I was here and Anki was in Jamaica with Brian. Options were nobody comes to the house. 'Cause if Brian gets sick, that's it for him.
Mhm.
Understanding. Non-verbal, we don't know when he's sick, we don't know what it is, he gets frightened. So we knew if he was to get anything, it would be the end of him. So we
Does he
take that position.
wear a mask? Would he?
No, no, what? Do what? You can't touch Brian's feet to brush his teeth and mask. Oh my gosh. He's on World War III in the house. So the first thing was nobody comes to the house. So it meant Anarchy was his sister, care provider, and housekeeper all at one time. But I think somebody would ask Anarchy if she not, if not, we ask if you're not lonely or something else. But COVID-19 brought the rest of the world into our space because we are really isolated, right? People busy getting on with their lives, and we have to be just sort of like in a corner by ourselves, holding all the space because we don't see people don't think we have an entitlement to be a part of the entire universe, right? The COVID-19 isolation, social distancing, hey, people actually move out of the way when they see us walking down the street. So we're kind of used to that. The biggest thing I think that Melinda mentioned was the issue of the mask. Brian's sensitivity, so he likes to go out. He likes being out of the house. In fact, he will take those shoes to Anarchy 5 times a day to take him for a drive. Okay, but he will not put a mask on his. Brian won't wear anything with long sleeves, for example. That kind of sensitive issues. So a mask is not an option. So are we going to do now at this point in time? But again, I know it sounds I don't sugarcoat things, but I look at the fact that some of the opportunities and the realities in the new world are closer to our world. Because, for example, our young our students can't go into no access to education. No, distance learning is a thing for everyone. That's going to include us finally because some of our children cannot go to school. Some of us can work from home but can't go into official workspace. Now with COVID-19, tele this and tele that is the norm. We can now have an opportunity to be included. So I'm looking at the fact that there are spaces now where we can jump in and be a part of a process that we weren't in before. I know you passed the time, so I'm not going to talk anymore. Sorry.
Yeah, I'll give Melinda an opportunity to share with us what some of the experiences were in terms of this whole COVID-19 and how she's dealt with it, and then we'll wrap up. So, Melinda, you want to share with us?
I didn't get that.
I'd like you to share with us your experience during COVID-19, or how you've been able to. I don't want to use the word cope, like Maureen said, enjoy. How have you enjoyed COVID-19?
Okay, well, first, Kimberly, you I have a tip for you. You could probably try turmeric powder because I had a similar situation with a yellow colored food, and I still have it in between. But sometimes, you have to go against the will and try to get them to eat other things. So I put turmeric powder on the vegetables. I put turmeric powder on the rice. I mean, turmeric is a good thing, right? You have to trick them into eating, right? So that is it. So I got him to eat now, and he's just eating anything.
Because
I
everything
had
looks
a
good.
bathroom problem. Yes, I had the problem with him stooling, and I just checked the laxative too. So yes, you, I mean, we have to find we're not getting the support that we need professionally. So we as mothers who nurture these children, carry them for 9 months, we have to implement things as the old people did. We really have to think out the box. We have to try anything and everything in order to make them function in society, right? We have to. It's important because most of society do not accept persons with disability special needs. They're very mean.
You guys sound like you have your work cut out. I know you all have different situations, but the story seems to be unified. Like the support is not there, the assistance is not there. I mean, the support there for somewhat in Kimberly's case, she has, family who helps here and there, but they had to recognize that there was a need to step in and say, hey, she gonna need a break because she has two of them, and we'll give her a break once a month, and people recognize that. But I feel like it's high time that not just the families and friends need to be on board with this, but the governments,
Yeah.
the nonprofit organizations who advocate for people with special needs, they need to also be on board with this because you guys need not just facilities, but professionals who are able to administer care to these children. I mean, in first world countries like Canada, where I am at, um, there are all of these facilities are made available to you, and you would think in this day and age, it would eventually trickle to the Caribbean, and because I mean, we're all human beings, and it's very sad that you guys are still going through things that people 20 years before are going through, and it's almost like you've been left out completely in everything. I sympathize with I'm so sorry, I mean, I don't even know what to say, to you guys. But I'm so grateful for you taking the time out because I know, Kimberly, you're home and your kids are there, and I can, even when we were setting up, they were coming in and hugging, and you were trying to keep them quiet. And I'm saying to myself, even if they disrupt, it's okay. It's all right. We keep moving, we keep pressing on. And then Linda, you had to rush from one to the next, and Maureen, you're in a different country where you cannot even leave to go and be there with your daughter, who's pretty much filled in the gap for you in your absence, taking care of your adult son, right? all of you have different scenarios, different lives, and I'm so appreciative of all of you coming on here this evening and sharing your stories with us. Truly, truly appreciate, and I hope that something will come out of this. That you get the help or a little bit of more help or an inkling of a help, you know, something will come out of this, that somebody will be listening and somebody will reach out. You guys are all in different islands and you all have the same story. Right? So we need to do something about this. Last week we had the educators on, and they spoke about they fly in a plane that is not even completely built. I want you guys to get me on the plane. I want you guys to be on the plane, but it's not even completely built, right? So I'm so grateful to you guys for sharing your stories. I wish you guys all the best, and I don't know if you guys have any final words, anything that you want to say. I want to give you each an opportunity to share your final words with the viewers and the listeners here on the show. Kimberly, you'd like to go?
Well, you just have to um willing to be accept help. Have the patience to deal with the child, and there's so many others out there with similar situations, and we all can learn from one another experiences. Because I tell you, we're from Kimani. After Humani went to a little state of confusion, a parent who's trying to take the same medicine, not knowing when she will be able to get more medicine again, she offered me some of her child's medicine.
Big up.
I mean, I was a bit taken back.
That's nice.
So we just have to reach out for help and be willing to accept that help.
Thank you for sharing that with us. Melinda? Your mic is on mute. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay,
Go ahead.
Maureen, I can probably recommend the face shield. You can probably try the face shield. Have you tried the face shield with him, Maureen?
Brian will put nothing on his face at all.
Oh my.
Nothing on his face. So if you trust me on this, if it hasn't been tried by me, don't exist yet. Trust me.
Well, I know that you're a good parent and you would figure, we all are, right? I must give kudos to Kimberly and Maureen and every other parent, single parents, persons with disability, parents with children that is having different disabilities. I must give kudos to you because I know it's a journey and it's every day. You live it, right? I
Okay.
know that. So I give kudos to you and I know you'll continue to do your best and we all pray for miracles to happen. So just let's keep believing and just give them our support and love.
Thank you, Melinda. Maureen?
Well, first of all, because Brian is my miracle. So I'm starting there. I already have the miracle. Now, how I work with the miracle is a different thing. But it's one of the things that I say when I speak with parents like myself. There's always this elephant in the room. And I say to everybody, say it out loud and then get past it. Particularly in the Caribbean, unlike Canada, where there is a support network, there is it's said in different ways, but there is I hope my child dies before me feeling and fear. That exists because in the Caribbean, there's no network. So I say to parents, say it out loud first, but then action. Yes, a fear you have because there's no support network. My support network, no support, I wonder what happens next. My mission for me is that it's going to be hard when I'm gone because I'm the income earner and things like that. But my focus then is not on he's going to outlive me. So like my child, I don't want to bury. Pray and move your feet. That's it. In other words, don't think it's not bad to feel that way because we are afraid of what happens afterwards. Do the things that are necessary. Create the kind of network. Do the best you can away to put away a few little pennies, so that when you fall asleep for that final sleep, you have left your child in a space of comfort and joy. What I have learned from COVID-19 and being almost here for 6 months without seeing them is that I'm in a good space. My daughter, who is 24, is able to manage support care for her brother and have joy the same way you have. When she calls in and says, Mommy, Brian was on timeout, and when he's on timeout, he will do a number two all over the room. It's all over. You walk in the room, and there's everything all over the floor. That's how he responds to timeout, right? And she will go in the room and she will tell the story as like a joke. I will laugh about it because I've left her in a space to understand that caring for a brother. I have lived my life with him to demonstrate to her we on a journey and find the joy, or you're going to end up freaking out. So I'm going to say, parents, it's okay to feel that you can't do it, but don't freak out. Look for the joy because it is there. It's just like any other child that you are raising that gives you joy. A child's ability gives you joy. Take it, grab it, and hold on to it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for sharing your stories with us here. I truly appreciate every single one of you ladies. It must have been difficult to come out and expose, your life for everyone here. But I feel like this is a teachable moment for a lot of us who don't know, and a lot of people who are living in the same situation as you. They can say, "Hey, I have somebody else in the same position, but see how they're dealing with it." I love that line. Find the joy, right? I really truly appreciate all of you coming on here and sharing with us. Thank you very much. And I wish you all the best. Nothing but the best. Continue to find that joy. Continue to find that joy. And thank you very much for the opportunity. I want to encourage you, all of you, the
Thank you.
viewers, to tune in next week, Wednesday, same time, same place. We will be talking with actual people who are, have
Oh,
disabilities.
that's it.
You got me on that.
Correct.
It's like a natural thing to say, living with disabilities. People who have
That's
disabilities will join us next week and speak on how they've been living and how they've been finding their own joy in everything that they do. Thank you very much to you, Maureen, Melinda, and Kimberly. And thank you very much to the sponsors of this show. We truly appreciate you guys for allowing us the opportunity to share the stories of Caribbean people, especially along the lines of acceptance, imagining it's you, how the Caribbean responds to COVID-19, to people with disabilities. Until next
Thank you
time,
so much.
have
Thank
a
you
good
for having us.
welcome. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.